Good morning, everybody. Okay, first, how many people are feeling the loss of 1 hour of sleep today? Thank you all for being here. I know you could have stayed in your beds. I wanted to stay in my bed, but not really. Of course I want to be here, but thank you all for being here. My name is Reverend Emily Bruce. I'm the minister of this congregation, and whether you're here for the first time or the 1000th time, you are welcome here. Thank you for being here to worship with us this morning. I'd like to say hi to the folks on Zoom up there. You are welcome here as well. Thank you for joining us this morning. And I just have a couple announcements to make, as always, before we get started. First, as many of you know, next Sunday, March 19th, is the vote for this congregation to decide whether they want to call me as your next settled minister. So if you are a voting member of the congregation, you have been sent a ballot. You may have already filled it out and put it in. You may not have. You might be waiting to vote next Sunday. All of those are options. If you do have any questions about the vote, please talk to Heather Timmelty, who's the co-chair of our governing board, today at coffee hour, and vote. Always vote. Next Saturday, April 1st, we're going to invite Sue Giovanetti from the Plymouth Area Coalition for the Homeless here to First Parish to talk to us about homelessness in our community. Many of you are aware of the clothing drive and participated in the clothing drive we did in the fall for the displaced folks that are living at the Baymont. We want to provide an opportunity for all of us to learn more about homelessness issues, especially how immigration is impacting homelessness in our community and around the country right now. So that's Saturday, April 1st at 10 a.m. She's going to do a talk and then have time for Q&A, and there'll be more information in the newsletter over the next couple weeks. Also that weekend, Sunday, April 2nd, is our next newcomers class. So if you are new to us and you're interested in learning more about Unitarian Universalism, you're interested in learning about our church, if you're contemplating membership, even if you're in the early stages of contemplating membership, you are welcome to that event. That's Sunday, April 2nd, right after church. It'll be from about 11:45 to 2:45, and there will be lunch, and there will be childcare if needed. So you can see me to sign up. There is also a notice in the newsletter, because everything's in the newsletter. So look for that too. And finally, I'd like to invite up Karen Clow, who's got an announcement from our stewardship committee. Karen.
Good morning. I wasn't sure how I was going to start this. Many of us wear a lot of hats, a lot of duties. None, of course, as vibrant as the fluorescent fedoras that the Kick Line wore on Friday night. However, today I am representing the Stewardship Committee with my stewardship hat. Many of you, can you read the fine print? Have received this stewardship letter in the mail. It has also been on in the newsletter, and it talks about our stewardship campaign, which most of you know kicked off last Sunday. In this nice letter is your pledge card. Please fill it out, which I did. This is helping me. Fill it out, put it in the envelope, seal it, drop it in the collection plate, mail it in if you prefer. There's also an option to do it online, as outlined in your letter, or online, so that you can do a contribution on the Breeze app. So if you have any questions, if you would like to see the handouts that were distributed during our cottage meeting last Sunday, please see me. We will have some on Info Island in the Beale House. If you didn't have a chance to look at them, that gives you a little bit of an outline of where our money goes and where it's been and where it's going, and how you can be part of that. Just a reminder, this is for the year of 2023 to 2024, and this is part of being a member. If you have not pledged for this year and want to participate in the vote next Sunday, we encourage you to talk to myself, Kathy Kay, Reverend Emily, to see about making that a full circle so that you can be part of this voting congregation. So, thank you.
Thank you, Karen. All right. I now invite all of you to sit back and relax, get comfortable in your seats. If your phone is on, maybe silence it. Not maybe silence it, please silence it. And maybe uncross your legs and sit with your feet on the floor and your hands in your lap or wherever they're comfortable. And join me in taking a deep breath in and out. Let's do that one more time. In and out. And give yourself the gift of this worship service for the next hour. Everything on your mind will be waiting for you after the service. So come and worship with us this morning. This morning we light our chalice with words by Reverend Gretchen Haley. There is nothing you need to bring with you to be welcome here. No rights, no right belief or proof of citizenship. No eternal optimism or clarity of conviction. No boundless courage or endless expertise. You do not need to know what brought you here or how you will solve that problem you are turning over and over and over in your mind. Your bills do not need to be paid, and your checkbook can be a mess. Your children may have been up half the night, your hearing aids may not be working, and your knees may be creaking. You do not need to be already perfect or even halfway to belong in this circle where grace meets us where we are, but does not leave us where it found us. Where love resides in each of us, yet in somehow more than all, where life still pulses and rages and heals and transforms, creating us and this day anew once again. Come, let us worship together. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, number 175. We celebrate the web of life. As Karen announced this morning, it is stewardship season. So every Sunday this month, we are inviting someone from our congregation forward to share some words about why they are a part of this community and what inspires them to give. And this morning, Rich Saltz will be offering words for us. Rich.
Good morning. I am flattered to have been asked to talk about why I contribute to First Parish. My UU history is long. My time here has been short, so let me give you my background. First, I have to admit that I am a child of privilege. I was born and raised a Unitarian Universalist. From the beginning, my two younger sisters and I went to the RE program at our church in Long Island, New York. Of course, as a kid, I often pushed back and claimed to hate it, just like I hated piano lessons. This lasted until high school, when it became less about exploring other faiths or the differences that unite us. The names of the curricula still stick with me 50 years later. And it was more about the guided explorations of what our faith and spirituality meant to each one of us. Regrettably, I became a lapsed UU when I came up to Boston for college. 10 years on, I married a similarly lapsed Catholic woman, but agreed to raise our kids in the Catholic Church. At the time, I thought this will be okay, because once they're older and really thinking for themselves, that's when I'll get them. Still hoping. As my marriage was falling apart, I started to go to the local UU church down the street. I guess I wasn't handling or hiding things as well as I thought, since after my first service, the minister approached me and asked to talk. He said, "What's wrong?" And I started to cry. I hadn't realized how much I missed being a part of my faith. I made friends, got involved with the church, spent many Sundays as an usher, but often held back and resisted other offers to join more activities and get more involved. They're just trying to draw you in, I thought. Well, yes, that's the point. To draw you into the community and make you a part of it. I mostly got over that hesitancy and increased my involvement, although it did take a couple of years. Flash forward, divorced, dating, remarried, and, well, by this time I was the governing board president. We moved to Kingston in May of 2020 when the pandemic lockdown was just starting. As you remember, that whole next year, church was FPK Zoom. Kind of sounds like an adult site. But I found the website and signed up for regular donations. To me, it was just natural. If you go, you give, even if going just means opening a new browser tab. Once the pandemic started to recede, I got to meet a great many people. Or rather, I got to meet many great people. When asked to do things, help with the cookie walk, be a part of the safe congregational task force, I said yes with almost no hesitation. Because I realized the point is to draw you into the community, to make you a part of us. I'm very happy to be here. Of course, I still pledge, but it's not just a habit. I give to help make sure that this wonderful, vibrant, not very diverse, but worried about it community will be here for the next person who walks through these doors, could use the acceptance, love, and spiritual help more than they might realize. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. Thank you. That's great. We will now be entering into a time of prayer, meditation, and silence, and sharing the joys and concerns on our hearts with this community gathered here. And to begin, I would like to invite you all to join me in singing side 1 of May Love Be Your Guide. There should be a little white card in your pew, and if you don't have one, please feel free to look on a neighbor's shoulder. Thanks. This morning. In lieu of our traditional prayer and in honor of the Buddha present with us in worship this morning, I'll talk more about this in the sermon, I would like to lead us all in a brief loving kindness meditation. So to begin, we begin by offering loving kindness to ourselves. So I invite you to take a deep breath in with me and out. And I invite you to repeat these words to yourself in silence. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be well. Now I invite you to bring into your mind's eye the face of a beloved, a family member or friend, someone very, very close to you. Bring their face into your mind and see them as if they were standing right in front of you. And repeat these words to them silently. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be well. Call to your mind the beloved members of your family and friends, those near and far, those souls with whom you share your life and your love. Repeat these words to all of them silently. May they be filled with loving kindness. May they be peaceful and at ease. May they be well. And finally, bring into your mind this community of people here at First Parish, all of the people who make up our town, our state, our nation, and our world. Bring, if you can, the fullness of the earth's beings into your mind's eye. And repeat these words to all of us silently. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be well. May it be so. Let us now have a few moments of silence together. Please join me now in singing side 2 of May Love Be Your Guide.
Three questions, a Zen tale. There was once a king who decided that if he knew who the most important people to be were, and what the most important thing to do was, and when the best time to do each thing was, that he would certainly be the finest king to ever rule the land. Although he had asked his advisors, none had been able to give him a good answer to these questions. At last, he decided to ask the advice of a wise hermit. The king dressed in the clothes of a commoner and set out for the forest. When he neared the hermit's hut, he ordered his knights to stay back at a distance, and he rode the last section of trail alone. The king found the hermit digging in his garden. The old man greeted him, but continued digging. The king told the hermit that he had come to find answers to his three questions. The hermit listened but gave no answer and continued working. The king observed that the hermit was frail and elderly and that the work was very difficult for him. The king offered to take over the digging, and the hermit allowed it. The king dug for 1 hour. Then he repeated the question, but the hermit did not answer. He worked again for another hour, and then repeated his questions with the same results. This continued for a few more hours until the sun began to sink low in the sky. Finally, the king got discouraged. "I came to you for answers, wise man, If you have none, tell me, and I will return home." Just then, someone came running up the path. They turned to see a man with his hands pressed to his stomach and blood flowing from between them. He dropped to the ground at the king's feet, and the king and the hermit knelt down and began tending the man. The king washed and bandaged the man's wounds. The blood continued to flow, so he kept having to change the bandages. The king also helped the hermit to get fresh water and to help the man drink. Finally, the man slept and did not wake until the next morning. The king slept too, upon the ground, waking often to watch over the man. In the morning, the man woke up and looked at the king. "Forgive me," he said to the king. "You have nothing to be forgiven for," the king answered. "Oh, but I do," said the man. "You were my enemy, and I had sworn to take revenge on you for killing my brother and taking my land. I knew that you were coming here, and I decided to kill you on the trail. But when you did not return for many hours, I left my hideout to find you. Your guards recognized me and wounded me. I escaped them, but I would have bled to death if you had not cared for me. I meant to kill you, but now you have saved my life. If I live, I shall gladly serve you for the rest of my days." The king was so happy to have been reconciled with an old enemy that he immediately forgave him and promised to return his land. Then the king called for his knights to carry the man back to his castle to be cared for by his own doctor. After the wounded man had gone, the king asked the hermit once more if he would not give him the answer to his question. "Your questions have already been answered," the hermit replied. "But how?" the king answered, perplexed. "How?" repeated the hermit. "If you had not taken pity on my weakness yesterday and helped me instead of returning home, that man would have ambushed and killed you on the trail. Therefore, the most important time was when you were digging my garden beds, and I was the most important person, and the most important thing to do was to do good for me. Later, when the man came running to us, the most important thing to do was to care for him. If you had not bound up his wounds, he would have died without making peace with you. Therefore, the most important person was that man, and what you did was the most important thing, and the right time was the time when you were doing it. You see, the most important time is always the present moment. It is the only time that is important because it is the only time that we have control over. The past we can only look back on and wish that we had done differently. The future we can only imagine. The most important person is always the one you are with in the present moment. And the only important deed is the deed that does what is best for others. At last, the king understood. He returned to rule wisely, one moment at a time. When we give, we say yes to something we value. In this congregation, we take up an offering each week to say yes to the values of our UU faith and yes to this beloved community. Please give as you are able. Today's offering will be gratefully received. Our offering anthem is "Come and Find the Quiet Center."
Thank you, choir. As always, beautiful and perfect. So today's sermon is a continuation of the series I'm doing this year on religious mystics. Those of you who've been here may remember, who did I talk about? I talked about Rumi, and I talked about Bridget, thank you. All day today, I'm blaming everything on the lost hour of sleep, everything. So these are figures that have influenced my life and my spiritual development, especially over the last 10 years as I've been moving into ministry. So today I want to talk about the Buddha and the main tenets of Buddhism. Now, while I don't identify as a Buddhist, I have learned so much from Buddhist teachings on how to be present, how to manage my own emotional life, how to survive some of the more apocalyptic seeming elements of living in this culture today, climate change and our bitter political divides and more. But first, I want to talk a little bit about my own journey to this point. Now, this may not be news to some of you, but I am not exactly what you would call a patient person. I'm not. I'm compassionate, I'm loving, I like to think I'm funny sometimes. I have many great qualities. Patience is not one of them. And this manifests in several different ways. One that is the most bedeviling to people, especially my parents, is I tend to be a fast talker. Every single time I'm on the phone with my parents, my dad will at some point go, honey, slow down. So, my impatience also means I don't like sitting around and waiting for something to happen. When I sense a void in conversation, in action, or someone in need, my tendency is just to jump right in and not wait for someone else to do it, to do or say the thing, rather than wait for somebody else to do or say the thing. It's a truth of mine that I'm learning to embrace. I like to be busy, but often I can get too busy. I can take on too much. I can do too much. I can not slow down till it's all done. A former boss of mine and a wonderful mentor to me would always tell me that I was a restless soul. That's that I needed to consider letting my soul rest once in a while. And sure, I'd tell him, I'll get right on that. I just got to do a couple other things first. So adding to all of this is my inclination to be a people pleaser. In my family, I was, and to an extent I still am, the good girl. How many of you are a good girl or good boy or know one of them in your family? Oh yeah, you are my people, and we love each other and we support each other. So the one who got good grades, the one who got into a good school, the one who did all the things to make her parents proud and make her older brothers grumble about how she was such a good girl. I wasn't really trying to show them up, but I know they often felt like I was. Because I wanted my parents to be proud. I wanted them to be happy. And that's what a people pleaser does, right? They want everyone around them to be happy, especially when things weren't so happy in my family. That's when the good girl would go into overdrive, making sure she was trying her best and doing all the things and being all the things for all the people. And by that math, it meant I was rarely doing anything for myself, rarely resting my soul, rarely taking time out for me. So add the lack of patience and all that stuff to the people pleaser who took it on herself to be everything for everyone. And what do you get? Burnout. You get burnout. You get tired. And a lot of the time, I felt just so burned out trying to be all the things. And along with this comes a lot of anxiety. I worried all the time about what had already happened. Was it good enough? Was I good enough? Were they happy with it? To what hadn't happened yet. Would it be okay? Would people be pleased? Would it be considered a success, whatever it was? So that's kind of a lot about my early life. And over time, and let's be honest, some good therapy, I started to learn more about these actions for success and these desires for action and success, rather, that drove me. And I can distill some very, very complex stories and points down to two simple things. I wanted everyone to like me, and my busyness kept me from having to feel my feelings about whether everybody liked me. So I'm sure, I won't ask you to raise hands, but I'm sure people can relate to some of this. I know some of you can relate to some of this. So a big part of my story in my life is how I learned and am still learning how not to be busy, or at least a certain kind of busy. Because for me, there's two kinds. There's good busy and there's bad busy. Good busy means I'm getting stuff done. I'm connecting with others. I feel a sense of accomplishment. And I'm able to put it all down at the end of the day and rest. Bad busy, on the other hand, has me checking email until 10 or 11 o'clock at night. Bad busy has me not resting on my Sabbath day. Bad busy has an urgency to it that keeps that hamster just running and running and running in the wheel. How many of us have our hamster just running in the wheel? Yes. And bad busy means I'm running away from my feelings. Bad busy means the people-pleasing little girl in my brain has completely taken over and is constantly seeking approval. None of this is a bad thing, though. I want to say that too, because I've realized it's my life's work, part of my life's work, I should say, to continue to practice recognizing when I'm in good busy mode or bad busy mode. It's not something I will ever solve. It's a part of who I am, and I am working to accept that. Because when you realize these kinds of things, they can be liberating and sobering at the same time. And you need all the help you can get to do this work. And that's where the wisdom of others, and for me, the mystics, really comes into play. And this is where the Buddha enters this sermon. The story of how the Buddha became the Buddha is legendary. Born Siddartha Gautama in the 5th or 6th century, because as with most things, there's debate about when it happened. The most common origin story goes that he was a prince living in idealized seclusion in a castle from the rest of the world. He did not know pain, he did not know fear, he did not know hunger. He lived a sheltered life with every need he could possibly ever have being met. Nice life, right? So the story goes that he left the palace one day and he encountered 3 things that just shook him to his core: a sick person, an old person, and a corpse. Encountering these 3 fellow humans and seeing proof of their suffering made him realize for the very first time in his entire life, that he too could get sick, that he would get old, and that he one day would die. So this began a quest for him to find peace of mind with these truths that he had just encountered for the first time. First, he went through some punishing disciplines like extreme fasting in the belief that punishing his body would purify his mind, and that didn't work, shocker. So he took to mental discipline and eventually found his way to a spot under a tree called the Bodhi tree, where it is said he sat until he found enlightenment. This marvelous statue of the Buddha that we have here with us in worship today was lent to us by Tom and Kalina Vendetti. Thank you, Tom and Kalina, for our service. It dates back to the early 1800s, and it is from Southeast Asia. And in this pose, you can see the Buddha's right hand is touching down in front of him. It is said that he is touching the earth at the exact moment he reached enlightenment. That is the meaning behind this pose. But it's important to note that the path to enlightenment is different for everyone. So Buddha doesn't teach us what to believe. He teaches us how to find our own path, because there are no creeds in Buddhism. There's also no supernatural deity, no Christian God or multiple gods like in Hinduism. Just us, just humans on our own path to understanding and hopefully, eventually, nirvana. The word Buddha is not a name, but a title. And in Sanskrit, it means a person who is awake. And that is a cornerstone of Buddhist teaching, to be awake, to be present to the world around us and the moment in which we are currently existing. To have Buddha nature, the photo on the front of your order of service I took when I was in Austin in January. It was under a bridge, and I just thought it was great. To have Buddha nature is to be hooked into the inner potential that we all have, to be awake, to be present, to be in the moment. Buddha taught that seeing things as they really are versus the stories or desires that we have about how we want things to be is the way to understand and release our attachment to our own suffering. Now, in Buddhism, pain and suffering are two different things. Pain is described as the first arrow, the original wound, the thing that causes the pain. And suffering is actually the second arrow, our reaction to the pain that we're experiencing. Can you see the difference between the two, the original pain and then our reaction to the pain? The work of enlightenment, therefore, is to understand our suffering, not the pain itself, but our suffering that we create around the pain, and then work to release it. Sounds easy, right? No, it's simple, but it's definitely not easy. So the foundational teachings of Buddhism are the Four Noble Truths. I'm going to try to do these very simply and briefly without too much detail. So the first truth is that life is, the word is dukkha, which is a Sanskrit word that can be translated into suffering, but also stressful and unable to satisfy. So life is suffering, life is stressful, and in life you're unable to be satisfied. I know, it's an upper, it's very exciting. So the very state of being alive is being in a state of need and suffering. The second truth tells us that suffering has a cause, and that cause is our craving that arises because we don't know ourselves. And how I interpret this is we aren't comfortable being as we are. We seek to be different. That good girl who wants to be all the things for all the people, that's that craving to be more, to do more, to have more, because we can't be content with who we are. And that's the source of our suffering, according to the second noble truth. The third truth is that we can liberate ourselves from that hamster wheel, that spinning hamster wheel that keeps going and going and going in our brain. We can relieve ourselves if we find out what the source is. What's the wound? What's the pain? That first arrow, what's your first arrow? If you can figure out what that is, you can start to untangle what motivates your suffering. And then when you can do that, that's when you liberate yourself from the suffering and you are free. The fourth and final noble truth is that you figure this out through practice. There's an eightfold path. I'm not going to tell you what the eightfolds are because we'll be here too long, but they're practices such as meditation, mindfulness, ethical living, and more, practices that help us live happier lives and follow that path towards enlightenment that Buddha models for us as he's touching the ground over here. There's a lot more to it, and if you are well-versed in Buddhism and you're saying to yourself, wait, she didn't mention this, it's because I don't want this sermon to last for 2 hours, so my apologies. There's a lot more to it, but those are the basics. Now, two of the things that I appreciate most about Buddhism is, Buddhist practice rather, is its accessibility and its practicality. Its tenets are fairly easy to understand, and they're not concerned with any complicated theology, right? There's no sacramental rituals that you have to do to belong. It speaks truth that is meaningful and practical and understandable for our daily lives today, even though Buddhism started, 1,500 years ago? No, 2,500 years ago? It still speaks to us today. Plus, for me, it really gets to the heart of a lot of the spiritual growth work that I've done in my life, which is learning to accept who I am and where I am, and putting down that striving for success and wealth and improvement that our capitalist system keeps expecting us to churn out and keeps demanding of us. And a big part of that is the invitation to be present. We all have heard mindfulness, the importance of being in the moment, and that's really at the heart for me of Buddhist teaching, being present. Because as our reading said, the present moment is the only moment that you can actually control. Right? Can you control the past? Can you control the future? No. But we can spend a lot of our time in the past and the future, can't we? Yeah. How much of your waking life do you think you spend ruminating about something that's already happened or worrying about something that hasn't happened yet? I'm not asking anybody to answer that out loud, but just think about it. I'd say for me, and this is really true, on a good day, I spend at least 75% of my mental energy ruminating on something in the past or worrying about something in the future. And that's on a good day. I ruminate on something stupid I said or something smart that I didn't think to say. That happens more often. And I feel guilt and I feel shame and over and over and over again. If only I'd gotten it right. I ruminate on an encounter I had with somebody that left me hurt, or I worried left them hurt. And I wish I could go back and change it and have a do-over. Or I worry. I worry about my parents' health. I worry what I will do when something bad happens. I worry about my brother's sobriety. I worry about all of you. I worry about what you're going through. And I worry that you will get relief, that I want you to get relief from whatever it is that's challenging you, and I want things to get better, and I want to do something that can help. And, of course, I worry about the soul of our country. And are we really going to hell in a handbasket? Because it certainly feels like it some days, right? I'm sure some of this resonates for you, and I am sure you have many, many ruminations and worries to add to this list. I'm sure it's a very long list. And they're all very real concerns, so I'm not trying to minimize them or tell you that you're wrong for worrying or you're wrong for ruminating. They're all completely justified. But you know what? Doing all this ruminating and all this worrying, it's exhausting, right? Do you feel how tired your brain gets when you're worried and worried and worrying and worrying? It's tiring to our minds, it's tiring to our bodies, it's tiring to our spirits to spend all of that energy in the past or the future and not in the present moment. So the Buddha encourages me over and over again to drop all of that and pay attention to what is right in front of me. Where I am, what I can see, what do I want to focus on right now? That's the constant invitation to bring my whole self into the present moment and notice what's around me. Like all of you, right here in this sanctuary, our eyes meeting across the room, knowing that I am seeing you and being seen by you, seeing you smile, sometimes a head nod, sometimes some laughter, feeling your energy, your loving energy that's pouring up here to me in this pulpit, and hoping that you can feel my loving energy pouring right back out to all of you. Feeling alive. That's what being in the present gives me, feeling alive. And that's what I feel like when I'm up here talking to all of you. I feel alive, and I feel present, and I feel grateful, and I feel blessed that I get to do this, that I get to be here, that I get to share this moment with all of you. And the Buddha helps get me to these moments. That's why he's one of my mystics. The Buddha helps me remember that these moments exist for all of us, all the time. At any moment, you can drop the rumination, you can let go of the worrying, you can claim your ability to recognize your own suffering, and you can let it go. Even if it's just for 30 seconds, you can let it go. So that people-pleasing girl who still to this day tries to run away from her feelings sometimes, to her, the Buddha reminds her that the pain I'm feeling is different than the suffering I'm experiencing. That I have a choice to be present to what I'm feeling and let it teach me about who I am. And also, and I keep saying, and this too, but it's all important. This moment is fleeting, and I'm always invited to pay attention to it before it passes and is gone forever. Because life itself, as we know, is impermanent. We will all live until we die. The planet will keep regenerating itself. Species and cultures will pass away. Life gives way to life over and over and over again, as it has for millennia. The only constant is change. And therefore, the Buddha invites me to be present in this one moment because it's the only one that truly matters. The one you're in right now is the one that truly matters. Like our reading said this morning, the most important time is always the present moment. It is the only time that is important because it is the only time we have control over. The past we can only look back on and wish we'd done differently. The future we can only imagine. So as you move into the week ahead, my prayer for all of you is that you try to be aware of where you are in the present moment. Recognize when you're ruminating on something that has already happened that you can't change, or worrying about something that hasn't happened yet that you also can't change, and pay attention to what you're feeling right now and see what it has to teach you. And hopefully, if you learn how to do this, it is a process. It takes your whole life. You'll find your own way down your own path to enlightenment, which is what Buddha wants for all of us. You'll let your Buddha nature, that innate ability that we all have to be present, to stay present, you'll allow that to float to the surface. You'll take a breath, you'll look around, and hopefully you will feel alive. May it be so. Amen. Please rise in body or in spirit for our closing hymn, number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. And our ability to be in it. And as we extinguish our chalice, may we be filled with loving kindness for ourselves and each other. Go in peace. Amen.